Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about functional capacity evaluations. Our hope is that you'll join us for this series of 5 informational videos where we are going to share information with you about the DSI Work Solutions methodology and experience that has come our way. So my name is Ginnie Marshall, formerly Ginnie Halling. Many of you may have read some of the articles I've written or know me by that name. I am a physical therapist with more than 30 years of background in functional testing, work hardening, work conditioning, and many other related services. I've had the privilege of providing services over the years, of teaching others, such as yourselves, physical and occupational therapists, in the delivery of functional capacity evaluations. And 10 years ago, I came to own DSI Work Solutions when Susan Eisenhagen retired. And so I've been mentored by some of the best, and I've been taught by many physical and occupational therapists across the country as an instructor and also as a mentor and a consultant to them. So based on those years of experience and all of that interaction, my intention is to share with you some perspective and give you some understanding on functional capacity evaluations, whether you're an expert already or just entertaining whether these are services that you want to refer your patients to or perhaps deliver yourselves. Let me introduce you then to the 5 topics that we'll be covering. So in this first video, we're going to focus on definitions. What is a functional capacity and what it exists for, and what our role as physical and occupational therapists is in the functional capacity evaluation. The second video is going to focus on a very common approach, the kinesiophysical method that is used by not just DSI Work Solutions, but others who have adopted the research that began with the work of Susan Eisenhagen. In the third video, we're going to focus on how a functional capacity evaluation is structured. In the fourth video, we will focus on the role of the functional capacity, when and how it should be used. And in the fifth video, we will focus on those difficult situations that one may encounter in a functional capacity and what to do about it, in particular when the individuals that are referred to us for these services don't seem to be as cooperative or as genuine as we would hope that they would be. So please join me now as we begin the first session, which is on the introduction and the definition of functional capacity evaluation. So the functional capacity evaluation is a standardized test looking at the variety of force demands and movement and position demands that are common with work as it's done today in the United States and across the world. The intention with these tests is to paint a picture of an individual's safe workability. That is the intention. So a lot has to happen in order to capture that information in a way that will be considered valid, consistent, and reliable. By the nature of the professionals that we are as physical and occupational therapists, our goal is to facilitate individuals that come to our care and improve their functional ability, be it for life activities, sport activities, or work activities as we're discussing today. So we want to be sure that the testing methods that we use incorporate methodology that is consistent with the type of care that we give. Our intentions should be to capture what an individual's safe workability is. We work with individuals just as we work with our patients to understand what their ability is and what is limiting them. In the proper approach, that can become just as evident to us as it does when we evaluate a patient for the types of treatment that we may be able to then deliver to achieve the outcomes we're seeking to achieve. So in functional capacity evaluation, the outcome we seek to achieve is the understanding of the person's safe workability. This can take place in a number of different ways, but at its root, the functional capacity evaluation is a standardized test that is looking for a broad understanding of an individual's workability. Since it's a broad understanding, it can be compared to work in a broad way, not usually in a very job-specific way. We are going to talk later in a different series about how you manage specific return to work questions when a specific job is what we want to pay attention to. But in the case of the standardized functional capacity evaluation, we're looking at general workability. That question may be asked in a number of different scenarios. It may be asked when we're considering disability determination. It may be asked to consider other employment options. It may be for case closure when an individual has come to maximum medical improvement. There may be legal referrals and legal reasons for a functional capacity evaluation. And I would argue that with our skill set, we can identify not only what this safe workability is, but what limits that safe workability to the level of being able to recommend a rehabilitation plan of care, to the ability of being able to recommend accommodations for individuals who need them due to disability. In the right structure, the functional capacity evaluation is a powerful tool that will benefit the individuals that come to us for these services. And that is important to keep in mind, who we are and what we bring to the functional capacity evaluation. It is true that in the functional capacity evaluation, you may discover that individuals are not giving full effort, are not consistent in their effort, and this will skew our ability to identify their safe work function. And we have to be prepared for that. But again, in the right design, you are seeking to identify safe workability. You are engaging with the individual to identify safe workability. It should be as positive and supported a relationship as any relationship you engage with when a patient is referred to you for care. And if you are providing the functional capacity evaluation services in that structure, then the vast majority of time you will be able to identify that safe workability. And when necessary, you will be able to identify when individuals are not giving full effort, are not consistent in their effort, and therefore your ability to identify safe work is going to be skewed. With that in mind, I want you to think about your own current exposure, if you've had some, to functional capacity evaluations. I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, do you like to do them? If it's well designed to fit your skill set, you should enjoy a functional capacity evaluation encounter as much as you would enjoy an initial evaluation with a new patient. It should be positive. Now, that said, people are coming to us for functional capacity evaluations, usually in difficult circumstances. Unfortunately, today, the functional capacity evaluation is not recommended until late in a patient's plan of care. This is a disadvantage because the opportunities may be limited in terms of how we may be able to help certain individuals when they come late in their plan of care. We'll talk more about that in a later series. So some patients are very fearful. They may be defensive. They may be angry even because of the circumstances they've come to. And so there's more of a challenge for the professional to earn the trust of an individual who is in those circumstances when they're referred for the functional capacity evaluation. But I would say that based on our experience and the different places that our patients come to us when we encounter them in an evaluation, we certainly have developed the skills, and with just a little bit of focus and guidance on the whens and hows of some of these patients, you can earn their trust the majority of the time and be able then to identify their safe workability. With that in mind, what I want you to think about is the powerful impact functional capacity evaluations have on the individuals who go through them. First and foremost, we're talking about work. We're talking about livelihood. We're talking about their ability to sustain their own lives and maybe the lives of families as well. It is important that we bring our highest level of skill to these evaluations, because we will be administering testing, interpreting results, and hopefully you will be making recommendations that are going to aid this person in moving forward, whether it is for work activity, which is the goal, or if this individual genuinely belongs in the disability system, then that can be identified as well. We're in a very powerful position to bring important information forward for all of those who are involved in making the decisions with the individual regarding work. The potential influence is best shared through story. And so what I'd like to do is share a story with you that really was a major determinant for me in the pursuit of making sure that I helped my patients and ultimately many others with being gainfully employed. So let me share. Early in my career, a gentleman was referred to me for return to work testing, specifically for a functional capacity evaluation. And I received the records that I should have received to review. And when I reviewed the situation, I have to tell you, I felt a knot in my stomach. I had not encountered a patient such as the one that was coming my way. He was a gentleman who had had multiple attempts at a total hip replacement, which failed, and they had simply opted then to remove the hip joint. Since I had not encountered a patient like that so far in my career, I really didn't know what to expect. There was more history with him in terms of some medical limitations, but the question, which remember how important it is for you to understand why you're receiving the referral. The question for this gentleman was whether he could return to his work as a conductor on a commuter train. And so they provided a job description, which was nominally helpful, but I knew I had to understand more about what this gentleman could do in terms of work in order to even begin to consider what he would do as a conductor on a commuter train. I requested a functional capacity evaluation order, which was provided, and we walked through the functional capacity evaluation. And what I was able to discover is that he had much more function than I would have thought he would have had in terms of his ability to walk, in terms of his ability to climb stairs, in terms of his general endurance, which was a surprise. But the one thing that was very clear was that his gait pattern was very different. He did not walk in what you and I would consider any type of normal pattern because of that absence of the hip. But in spite of that change in gait pattern, he was very able to walk safely. I turned back to the job description and I talked with my client about his job. And I really knew from the functional capacity evaluation results alone that I couldn't quite answer the question. My individual who was with me wasn't sure either. And so we knew we needed more information in order to answer the question. And I think many times in functional capacity evaluations, we have to keep in mind that since it's a standardized test, it's going to give us a lot of information about the individual that we're working with. It should give you a lot of information about what their abilities are and ultimately what limits them. But at the same time, it's general to the point where we often can't, with confidence, say whether we think the individual is ready to return to work. We can match up things, but again, it's your confidence in being able to recommend return to work. Sometimes you're very comfortable with it. I will say many times in functional capacity evaluations, I'm looking at a particular job description, talking with my individual that's in front of me, and I'm comfortable making a recommendation for work or not to work. But in some cases, I'm not, and I think it's very important that we collectively as physical and occupational therapists, can recognize when we need more information than what we have. And we will go on and talk about how to go that next step in order to be able to assist with answering the question about ability to return to work safely. So know that the functional capacity evaluation is a standardized test of common work abilities, force demands like lifting, carrying, pushing, pulling, grip strength, pinch strength, movement and position demands like standing, walking, bending, reaching, coordination, climbing as examples. And then you put that together to paint a picture of the individual's general workability. When it comes to answering the job question, you may need more information, and we will talk about that in a future video. Thanks for joining us for this first in a series of 5 videos on functional capacity evaluation. We hope you will come and visit us at our website, dsiworksolutions.net, and take a look at the educational offerings that we have if you're ready for more in-depth learning on a process of delivering functional capacity evaluations as a service. We invite you to set up a free account and take the first lesson in our functional capacity evaluation educational series. If you're enjoying this educational series, please be sure to like and subscribe so you'll be notified when we have new material available for you. Again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.